Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Ria Varsami and I'm a shamanic astrologer. Today I will be analyzing for you about the upcoming full moon in Libra that is happening on the 12th or the 13th of April, depending on your time zone. So this full moon comes as somebody holding a light in front of us and really showing us the truth. And this truth is very much connected with our relationships as they are, and also our relationships in general, in terms of the balance we have in our relationships, in terms of like the giving and receiving energy between our relationships. In addition to this, we have literally the first weeks of Neptune in Aries, that I will be talking about it later, which is a big shift. And also we have the end of a very long period that inner planets have been in retrograde. So if you have been watching my videos for a while, I've been talking about this in every video for the last 5 months almost. So since the end of November, Mercury has been retrograde, and we had Mars, now we had Venus and Mercury again retrograde. So these are called inner planets: Mars, Venus, Mercury. So the planets that affect us the most. So when they all go retrograde, it's like a lot for us to learn. And this is not something that happens all the time, because Mars goes retrograde every 2 years and Venus goes in retrograde every 18 months. So this has been a very important phase for all of us. So I will be analyzing later on the video about that and what does it mean for each of us. So if you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to my channel so I can continue making these videos for you guys, so you can support my work. Also feel free to like the videos, comment, or share them with your friends. So I want to start talking about analyzing further these retrograde energies, because I think it's very important for us to understand. So as I said, we have these inner planets that affect us the most. And it's rare to have all of them together very, very close. And it's not only rare that we started with Mercury. Mercury is not very rare to be in retrograde. It goes like many times in retrograde every year. But Mars and Venus, it is rare when they go retrograde. So we started with Mercury retrograde, end of November. Then we had Mars in retrograde. As I said, it goes in retrograde every 2 years. Straight after, we had Venus in retrograde, literally after a few days after Mars, and then we had also Mercury in retrograde. So now, with this particular full moon in Libra, we're closing all this retrograde period, 5 months almost of retrograde. So I want you to reflect in this bigger cycle, because every retrograde period of each planet marks a smaller cycle, but this is also a bigger cycle that I want you to reflect. What you started working back in the end of November, approximately around the 26th of November, even earlier than that, because when we study astrology and planetary alignments, the time is not so linear. It affects us before, afterwards, so we cannot just say, it's only this day. So I want you to reflect in this bigger cycle, what you have been working towards these 5 months and what you have been learning, what things you had to step back and look at them from a different eye, because this, especially with Mars and Venus in retrograde, was a lot about stepping back and letting go of the ways that we used to operate. So now Venus ends its retrograde exactly at the same day of the full moon, on the 13th of April, and Mercury ends its retrograde a few days before the full moon, so the 7th of April. So already Mercury is direct when we have this full moon. So what does it mean? And Venus also is the ruler of this full moon in Libra. I'm very excited actually about this full moon, because I think it's going to be very intense but very liberating because of all these amazing alignments we have. Okay, I'm very excited. I have lots of notes and I try to go slow for you to understand. So first of all, what does it mean having a full moon in Libra? A full moon is always a time when we let go, when we release. And Libra is the energy that connects with relationships, and with love relationships, partnerships, but also all type of relationships, how we relate. And the relationships reflect the relations reflect the relationship we have with ourselves, right? They're mirrors to see these parts of ourselves that we admire or we don't like, or etc. So Libra is all about that. Also is the scale, is the balance. How much in our relationship with this balance of giving, receiving. It's about mutuality, fairness, all of this, the scale of Libra, like the justice in the tarot cards. So a full moon in Libra, of course, is going to trigger our relationships, and it's going to bring a lot, especially this full moon, is going to bring a lot of light. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it's like literally like somebody coming with a holding like this old school light, like with a hand, and it's kind of like pointing to you. Look, that's where you have to look at now in your relationships. So I will not be surprised with this full moon if a lot of like love relationships or any kind of relationships will end. For many reasons, because the full moon represents a closure, is in Libra, and also we have Venus that has been retrograde for the last almost month and a half, closing now this phase, and Venus goes in retrograde every 18 months. So Venus also now wants us to teach us what is this thing that how to say it, like the peak. Venus is pointing us the peak of our of our lessons here. Is like she has been teaching us, reflecting this, but this full moon is going to be like this is the lesson. You really have to understand it, like very like a graduation. When you finish university or school, this is like our graduation. That's okay. Now you learn. You got the, what's the name of this you put on the head, the hat for graduation, and yeah, you can move on. So this is a lot about relationships, and also we have a lot of interesting alignments with the moon. So every time we have a full moon, the sun and the moon are opposite to each other. So the sun is in Aries and the moon now is in Libra, right? The sun is conjuncting Chiron under this full moon, and they are both doing opposition with the full moon. So this is a very, very healing full moon. But because we have also all of this, it can be very like a lot of triggers about relationships can come up to the surface. So the sun is in Aries conjuncting Chiron, which is the wounded healer. Chiron is an asteroid that represents our deepest wounds in this lifetime and how we are going to heal them. So this full moon is triggering these wounds we have, and we have this opportunity with this full moon to see what are our deepest triggers in our relationships in order to move on. To add to this, because I'm making a story when I study always the astrology, we have to talk about Mars doing an opposition with Pluto. Mars is the planet of action. It's how we use our masculine, it's how we manifest. And Mars under this full moon is doing an opposition with Pluto, which is the planet of transformation. So at the moment, it's like the universe is putting like, cut. No, not anymore. Transform. You cannot continue on the same way. And this relates to our relationships. Not only love relationships, all type of relationships. And I'll give you an example. Imagine you have friends that they always call you when they need something from you. They never really care about how you're doing. They just want to call you and tell them all of their problems. And because you are like a good girl or a good guy, you always listen and you're like, oh, they need me. I have to be there for them. Doesn't matter if I have my own things and they don't ask, it's okay. You know, like this kind of thing, like giving, receiving. Or maybe you have a friend, he always asks you to give money to your friends because you always have trouble with money and you always give money and you don't say anything. It's been like, oh, you know, maybe you should get a job. You know, you cannot ask me for money like for 2 years now. You know, it's like this kind of like when I mean about also a lot of things that comes to fairness and justice, as I hate this word justice. So a lot of things that were under of the carpet when it comes to relationships with this full moon is like, no, they're right here. That is right here. You cannot not see. And this can be secrets. This can be things regarding our relationship we weren't able to see before. So that's why I said many relationships will end for good, for us to move on a higher path, right? With this full moon. So if you are already feeling this energy, because of course we are already working with this energy, knowing that you are very supported. If you need support from the cosmos to let go of something that is not serving you anymore, this is the perfect time to let it go, because the cosmos is really supporting us for that. Now I want to talk about, wow, it's like, I don't know from where to start also, because there's so many things happening in this full moon. I want to talk about Neptune, because Neptune is one of the furthest away planets we have. I talked in my previous video about it. Please watch it if you haven't watched it. Neptune is the planet of spirituality, of our intuition, of the dream world and change signs. Literally after the new moon we had, the previous new moon we had. So now is the first time we're experiencing Neptune in Aries, and Neptune has a 165-year cycle. So of course, in this lifetime, we're not going to have this opportunity again to have Neptune in Aries. And also, we are starting, as I said also in my previous video, a new 165-year cycle. And I know if we think of this incarnation only, we're going to think like, oh, it's not enough years even to live this cycle of Neptune. But when we study astrology, we study more on a soul level, because we are souls that we travel in time. We're not just this body. So if we see it this way, it's a little bit different. So how is the first the first 2 weeks with Neptune in Aries? Because this is very different than Neptune in Pisces. So Neptune in Aries is like very masculine. Neptune is like feminine, intuitive, spiritual, like it rules Pisces, right? And now in Aries is in a very Mars kind of energy, very different energy. So it's more rough. It's more like pointing us like intuitive things very on a very different way. And also Aries is a lot about independence, having our own direction. And of course, it's energy that connects us also with our masculine side and how we take action. So just reflecting also that, how are the first 2 weeks? Because when a planet like Neptune changes signs, is something that we're going to feel it and brings a big shift in our lives. Now, I want to talk about the aspect that this moon does very briefly, because I tried to keep this video short. So the moon does a square with Mars, with this a disharmonious aspect. So under this full moon, our action is a little bit restricted, but as I said, it's not restricted that in terms of like we cannot move forward. We can move forward, but we have to transform something. We have to let go of some old ways of operating, right? So it's more like that, not that we cannot move forward. And then we have the moon trining Jupiter. So the moon is opening, this full moon is opening opportunities, is opening possibilities. Even if we think, okay, that's all that I can have, with this full moon is opening more things. And of course, I think the highlight aspect of this full moon is the moon that is doing the opposition with Chiron. So of course, it's a big calling to really see all these triggers, because all these triggers we see in our relationships, like let's say why my boyfriend or my girlfriend, my wife, my husband are triggering me, in particular this thing that is triggering me, is because something is in us that creates this trigger. So this full moon asks us to go back to this wound that had this trigger at the first place, and then is reflected in our relationship. So it's very, very interesting. So let's say I give an example, because examples are easy to understand. Let's say I grew up with as a child and was suppressing my anger a lot. And of course, I do the same now in my relationships, and then I can have these explosions of anger to my partner, for example. So this is nothing has to do with him. It's not because him or her does something crazy. It's because I have all this in me, and I was not able to release it, and I was not able to process it. I was not able to understand how this anger was created at the first place in my childhood, right? So yeah, it's a little bit of psychology here, but yeah, that's how it works also, because astrology and psychology are very connected also. Okay, one more thing I want to say about Venus now. We have actually a stellium of planets in Pisces. Stellium in astrology means when many planets are next to each other. So we have in Pisces this. So we have Venus conjuncting Saturn, conjuncting the North Node, conjuncting Mercury, conjuncting Neptune. Neptune is the only planet that is in Aries. All the other ones are in Pisces in very close degrees, 24, 25, 27, 28. So that also, the energy of Pisces is still working with us. And you guys remember the last literally new moon and full moon, we have been working so much with the Piscean energy again. So our intuition is very, very strong. Our spiritual nature, our disconnection with spirit is very, very active at the moment. And also with Venus conjuncting Saturn, Venus is the ruler of this full moon. Venus is closing the retrograde energy. Is like, guys, what is the lesson? What is the lesson here? Is also Venus is now closing something, and is showing us how we can mature more, find more maturity in our life, because Saturn is the planet of maturity, is the planet of responsibility, of structure, of karmic lessons. So together with Venus, there are like, okay, you've got your lessons, you are more mature now, let's see how you're going to move from now on. And this can apply to your love relationships. Venus is about that, to your finances, to your worth, how you value yourself, to arts, beauty, the feminine side. We all have all of these themes of Venus. So also Saturn, Venus, the North Node, and Mercury together also, it's a lot about destiny also, because we have the North Node there in Pisces with all these conjunctions. So we are working also with some things that are destined for us to come. So this can manifest, of course, in relationships. Some relationships that are really destined to come to teach us something, to learn, maybe stay on a long run, maybe they're gonna work out on our benefit and they're gonna be here for a while. But also these destiny relationships are more like, how to say, they're here to help us evolve, let's say, as souls. So these relationships can be love relationships, can be friendships, can be collaborations, but they're here. Venus in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, North Node in Pisces are bringing these destiny relationships to us. And of course, with Mercury also there, that is direct under this full moon, is a lot about how much we learned under this retrograde period. How did we work with our mindset? How deep did we go into our subconscious patterns through our dreams? Because every time we have Mercury retrograde, it's a great time to access our dreams, as I always say. So it's a lot happening. What can I say? I try to put it all nicely together, but I want to just leave you with these highlights. So number one, this is very, very healing full moon to look deeper. Let's say, instead of like blaming others, blaming our relationships, like why I don't have this balance in my relationships, why everybody wants to take from me. It's like, reflect of how this all started. What is the root of all this? Because the root is in us. It's not these people that we are blaming. They have nothing to do with that. We have to find this in us. And after we change this inside of us, our relationships will change. And of course, as I said, the cosmos now is supporting that. So we have to take advantage of that. And also, as I said, with Neptune, this is like a beginning also, this new cycle. So I want you also to reflect on that, reflect on the on the retrograde period also, and see the lessons, see where did you have this graduation, and take this step to move on and allow this inner transformation, whatever has to die, whatever you have to let go, all parts of you to let it go and just move on to a higher path, because it's all about that in the end. So thanks so much for watching. I didn't manage to keep this video very short, but that's all right. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And if you want to learn exactly how every new moon or full moon is affecting you based on your birth chart, I have an online workshop that you can find the link down in the description. And in this workshop, you will learn exactly, I think the workshop is approximately 1 hour 15 minutes. And I'll teach you exactly how to calculate, how to find the planets, the positions. So it's beginners friendly. Everybody can follow. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye for now.